and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Monday, 2 February. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Ukraine peace talks have been delayed after the US and Russia meet. Iran warns of regional conflict if the US attacks Iran, I guess, and designates EU armies as terrorists. And 145 militants have been killed after suicide and gun attacks in Pakistan. So firstly, the second round of US-backed trilateral peace talks between Ukraine and Russia will take place next week in Abu Dhabi, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday. Zelensky said the new round of talks would take place on the 4th and 5th of February and that his country was ready for substantive decisions. On X, he wrote, "We are interested in ensuring the outcome brings us closer to a real and dignified end to this war." The second round of talks have been delayed. Neither the Kremlin nor the United States has confirmed the new dates, the second rounds of talks. Okay, so it seems like the talks on the 5th and 5th are not confirmed after they were postponed. Interesting. Territorial issues still remain unresolved. Sweet. So what? This is just really no change, right? It seems possible that Russia is now looking for its new excuse as to why it can delay these peace negotiations as it continues its war in Ukraine. That's kind of been their status quo for the last 12 months since Trump got into office, and he seems to buy it every time, right? They just make up an excuse and things don't move forward. Meanwhile, Russia continues its war, Ukraine continues defending, and nothing really changes. That's been the status quo since Trump got into office, and I don't see anything here that makes me think it's going to change. We are, it appears, getting closer to some kind of peace negotiation, but some significant issues still remain that, I've absolutely banged on about, and regular listeners will be probably sick of listening to me here. Well, listening to me say, sorry. And that is, Ukraine doesn't have security guarantees. That is the one thing, the actual good, clear security guarantees are the thing that's going to get Ukraine to agree to a peace deal. One that could give up territorial integrity if it gives them the right security guarantees. I think that's possible. Yeah. But for that to happen, Russia has to be open for the West to be in Ukraine, which is something that they started this war over. So it still seems unlikely. But, maybe if they're desperate enough, they may come to the table. And next, Iran's leadership has warned of a regional conflict on Sunday if the US were to attack it, stoking the tension between Washington and Tehran. And it designated EU armies as terrorist groups in a retaliatory move. The US has ramped up its naval presence in the Middle East after Donald Trump repeatedly threatened Iran with intervention if it did not agree to a nuclear deal and failed to stop killing protesters. Despite the standoff between Iran's clerical rulers and Trump, both sides have signaled that they are ready to resume talks, and regional allies such as Turkey have sought de-escalation. So what? It seems to me unlikely now that the US will conduct strikes against Iran, but hey, you never fucking know with Trump, so take this all with a grain of salt. The reason I think this is because the protest has died down, right? The protest momentum is now gone. If the US wanted to help influence the protests to take out the Iranian leadership, then they needed to conduct these attacks like at the height of the protest, or at least in the build up to the protest, or even like on the just off the peak of the protest, to try and like give them that push to get over the edge. But the protests have gone now. Like, the people have been killed, the leaders have been rallied, like probably are all arrested and are all waiting execution. Like, the time has passed. Any attack now won't really serve that benefit unless it is like a huge attack, like completely overwhelming, where it completely destroys the entire Iranian leadership. But I think that's also unlikely. So I don't see what the US would hope to get out of an attack now, outside of, possibly starting a regional conflict. So I think it's unlikely, but, you never know with Trump. And lastly, Pakistani security forces on Sunday searched for separatists behind a series of coordinated gun and bomb attacks in the southwestern state of Balochistan. Troops were sweeping the area a day after multiple assaults were launched on security forces, civilians, and infrastructure, according to the chief minister of the region. About a dozen sites remain sealed off. The series of attacks left 31 civilians and 17 security personnel dead, adding to at least 145 attackers killed. In a statement, they said, "We had intelligence reports that this kind of operation was being planned, and as a result of those, we started pre-operations a day before." For decades, Pakistan has been battling the Baloch separatist insurgency in the Balochistan province, where it shares a border with Afghanistan and Iran. So what? I mean, that's a pretty significant number of militants to be killed, and a low number of civilian and security personnel in like kind of balancing that out. So yeah, quite crazy. There's been the Balochistan separatist groups have recently been conducting quite a few significant attacks, especially against Chinese workers in the country. So I'm sure the Pakistanis really wanted to get a hold of it and like crack down on these rebels. It is unclear yet how much support is coming from China, as this was one of the something like I talked about ages ago, and something I thought would happen if Pakistan was unable to, control the groups. So is it possible that Chinese intelligence is now supplying Pakistan with the intel that led to this kind of attack, so they can kind of get out in front of these rebels and try and eliminate them before they can conduct further attacks on both the civilian population and infrastructure related to Chinese development in the region? But yeah, interesting. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel. I never ask if you're following this and you enjoy my stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps me out. Yeah, cheers. See you.